This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV. 5 things you need to know for Tuesday, March 26th, 2024. I'm Derek Gilbert. Topic number 5 today, Israel. The IDF reports that it's arrested 480 Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists inside the Shifa hospital compound in Gaza City. This is in a battle that's been ongoing for more than a week now. They've also found weapons and terrorist infrastructure in the medical facility. Bear in mind, if that name sounds familiar, it's because the Shifa hospital was first entered by the IDF back in mid-November, about 5 weeks after the war started. You might remember the press conference where IDF spokesperson Jonathan Conricus took the media through the hospital and showed them weapons they'd found, tunnels underneath. The corporate media's response was, gee, this doesn't look like a terrorist headquarters to us. The image on the screen was taken from November. This is not from this week. Those weapons were found in the MRI room back in November. Now, here in the United States, if you went into a hospital, your typical, county general or whatever, and found a dozen or so automatic weapons inside the MRI room, that would kind of be big news. But inside Gaza, apparently that's just sort of expected. It isn't, I guess you have to find actual rocket launchers inside the hospital for it to count as a terrorist base. Anyway, here we are. 4 months later, they're back in the hospital. They've killed several hundred terrorists and arrested nearly 500 others. Maybe now the corporate media will pay attention. Yes, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, actually using hospitals and other civilian infrastructure as cover for operations against Israel. Meanwhile, on Monday, relations between the United States and Israel took a hit when the United States chose to abstain during voting on a United Nations Security Council resolution about the war in Gaza. Called for a total ceasefire during the month of Ramadan. United States and every other nation voted in favor of the resolution. United States just sort of washed its hands like, Pontius Pilate. In response, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu decided to cancel plans for an Israeli delegation to visit Washington, D.C. Where this goes from here remains to be seen, but Israel is finding that its friends in the West are becoming increasingly squeamish about allowing Israel to do what it needs to do, which is finish the job with Hamas. Topic number 4, Egypt. Meanwhile, Israel's southern neighbor Egypt is sitting on a powder keg. This being stirred up by the religious group called the Muslim Brotherhood. On the morning of March 4th, the State Security Criminal Court in Egypt issued a death sentence for Supreme Guide Mohammed Badi, along with 7 other Muslim Brotherhood leaders. This has been outlawed by Egypt. The case for which they were condemned goes back to 2013, just days after Egypt's military, in a coup backed by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, removed the government of Muslim Brotherhood leader Mohammed Mursi, who has since died. The thing is, the other Arab nations in the Gulf region, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, they don't want the Palestinian Arabs either, because everywhere they go, they cause trouble. Back 50 years ago, in fact, Yasser Arafat's Palestine Liberation Organization tried to overthrow King Hussein of Jordan, father of the current king, Abdullah. They kicked him out. The Jordanians kicked him out. The military had to go in and kick him out. They fought a short war against the PLO. They went to Lebanon and stirred up a civil war there. Leaders in the Arab world remember, so while they may speak approvingly of what Hamas did on October 7th, they do not want them inside their borders. But the Muslim Brotherhood is playing on Egyptian President El-Sisi's relatives' silence about the war in Gaza, and the fact that Egypt has built a big border barrier now to keep the Gazans out. And this may lead to trouble, along with Egypt's faltering economy, loss of clout in the Arab world. El-Sisi is a secular ruler, the Muslim Brotherhood, which wants to reestablish the caliphate. It's the other reason that the other Arab nations in the region don't want the Muslim Brotherhood inside their borders. The caliphate was based in Turkey. And ethnically speaking, the Turks and the Arabs don't always get along. So there's an ethnic thing going on there as well as the religious tension. But El-Sisi, being a secular ruler, having to deal with religious fundamentalism inside his borders, it could be a serious problem for the stability of Egypt. Topic number 3, migrant highway. China financing construction of a section of the Pan American Highway that would connect Panama to Colombia. This would cut 4 miles into the jungle at the Darien Gap, include a couple of bridges across key rivers that currently are an obstacle to people traveling from Colombia to the north. This would leave only 55 miles to complete of the Pan American Highway, which connects Alaska in the north to Argentina in the south. That last section has never been completed because of concerns by the governments of the United States and Panama about the economic, or rather the environmental impact, also crime and disease, and now human trafficking, which would also play into the crime and the disease. This rugged terrain between Colombia and Panama has been a barrier, but it is now being overcome thanks to China's participation, which began in 2018 when Panama signed onto China's Belt and Road Initiative, the modern Silk Road. In so doing, Panama declared that Taiwan was part of China. This took the United States by surprise. This would, in a sense, lead to a project that would partly bypass the Panama Canal, thus reducing American income and leverage over global trade, and would make it easier for human traffickers to bring illegal migrants directly to America's southern border. From a Chinese perspective, that is a win-win, and that's why this is happening. Topic number 2, loaded cereal. Loaded with what is the problem? A new report raising concerns over General Mills' new loaded cereals line, which launched on February 1st, puffed up larger-than-life squares, according to the ads, of General Mills' Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Trix, and Cocoa Puffs filled with artificially flavored vanilla cream. Now, Trix, in the advertising, boasts 17 grams of whole grain per serving, 12 vitamins and minerals, but testing by a group called Moms Across America found that the artificially flavored cereal contains measurable levels of aluminum, cadmium, arsenic, lead, glyphosate, known under the trade name Roundup, and other pesticides shown to be harmful in humans. In fact, in some cases, levels that far exceed EPA allowable levels in drinking water. Why are they in there? That's a really good question. But I think the bigger question is, parents, why would you consider serving something filled with sugar, food dyes, and highly processed food for breakfast anyway? Yes, I know it's easy. I know the kids love it because it's nice and sweet. But please, this is why there's an epidemic of obesity, things like this here in America, beyond the fact that you've got these chemicals that shouldn't be in your body in the first place that are somehow winding up in the processed grains. Coming up, the priorities of the Biden administration. With all that's going on in the world, you would think they'd have more to do than mess around with the instant messenger, the text messaging app on your iPhone. But you would be wrong. I'll explain next on 5 and 10.
There is an all-out war being waged on the minds of an entire generation of today's young people.
State lawmakers are now questioning how 70 foster kids can go missing.
They have convinced us in the West that children are a burden. Birth rates are below replacement levels just about everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere.
People would have to be utterly blind or insane not to recognize the current heartbreaking onslaught against our most vulnerable citizens, our children.
Children who have been thrown up against walls and locked in closets. Children who hide under their beds in fear and whose nightmares are real. Children who have been beaten with 2x4s, whipped with bicycle chains, and burned with cigarette butts.
Children living in foster care are 4 to 5 times more likely to commit suicide than those who are not.
An agenda to submit our current generation of children to a fate far worse than death is being carried out.
I was 5 years old. I was doing dishes. My mom was so mad. She had picked up one of the steak knives and shoved it through my hand and just walked away.
Who will stand in the gap for these children? These are real lives.
Item number one today. When they came into office, they said the grown-ups would be in charge. And you just got to wonder, is this how grown-ups prioritize? Because I would think the government of the United States, the Biden administration, has a few other items to deal with, like war in the Middle East, war in Ukraine, securing the border, etc. But no. The Biden administration's Department of Justice has sued Apple and is calling out Apple specifically for afflicting users of Android smartphones with a green bubble in text messages. Yes, you get a text message from somebody using an Android phone, and it comes in a green bubble, I guess, instead of a blue bubble. I'd always wondered about that. I'm fairly tech savvy, but to me, that is such a low priority, I don't care. But apparently, the Biden administration says it is, quote, a mark of social stigma, exclusion, and blame, end quote. And so it wants Apple to fix it so that Android users aren't embarrassed. Apparently, this has been a source of mocking online. If you are green bubble, oh, well, because you don't have an iPhone, you're a green bubble. And the Department of Justice thought this was important enough to waste resources, our tax dollars, pursuing a legal remedy with Apple. Look, Apple shouldn't be under any compulsion to make life easier for Android users, or vice versa. You want to use an Android? Fine, use Android. You want to use Apple? Great, go for it. The Biden administration, with everything else it's dealing with right now, trying to get rid of the Android green bubble on iPhones. As if there's nothing better to do than fix social stigma issues for high schoolers. This is why Grace, the rescue dog, comes out here to the barn with me, just to keep me calm. Countering the Darkness, Skywatch TV's virtual conference. Available now. Instant access. You haven't lost any time if you haven't signed up yet. 90 days access from the moment you sign up, with presentations from the likes of Dr. Tom Horn, Pastor Carl Gallups, Pastor Casper McLeod, Pastor Mike Spalding, scholars like Dr. Igal German, and many others. Sharon and I have also contributed presentations to this. You get 90 days access from the time you sign up, plus as a free bonus, access to all 6 Skywatch Films documentaries. More information and registration online, defenderconference.com, defenderconference.com. This week on Skywatch TV, a very moving story from a young lady whose case of child abuse was one of the worst ever recorded here in the state of Missouri. But her life was completely changed by Royal Family kids camps. This is what we do at Skywatch TV. We essentially fund the work at Whispering Ponies Ranch, which in turn is used by Royal Family Kids and now Teen Reach to basically change the course, the arc of the lives of children in foster care, children who've been abused in horrible ways. You hear one story this week about how your support can change the life of a child and show them that there are adults who understand that our role, our responsibility as adults is to love and protect children, not use them. The program's available to watch right now at skywatchtv.com. You can watch it on our Roku or Apple TV channels. You can also catch it over the air. Our broadcast schedule is posted at skywatchtv.com/channels. You can also catch it right now at Rumble. All of our video content is at rumble.com/skywatchtv. But better yet, get our free mobile app. This guarantees we won't be canceled because the content is hosted by a Christian company. They have no interest in canceling us. It's our app. We won't be canceled from our own app. And you can use Apple's AirPlay, Google's Chromecast to cast the video content to your smart TV. You can find the app for the version that is that you need, iOS, Android, Amazon, Kindle, Fire, phone, or tablet. We've got links to those app stores at our website, skywatchtv.com/app. In early May, Sharon and I are taking a small group to Israel. It's our solidarity mission, standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel. We will see sites that were attacked on October 7th. We'll visit with hostages or the families of the hostages at Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, distribute gifts to people who are still evacuated from their homes in the north, homes within reach of weapons, Hezbollah weapons. And we'll visit the important sites that you want to see in Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, the Mount of Olives, the Western Wall tunnels. We will be at the Western Wall for Shabbat prayers and more. The itinerary is posted at our website. This is gilberthouse.org/travel. Joe Horn very kindly allowing us to talk about this here. gilberthouse.org/travel to find out more, and there's a link there for the Lipkin Tours website if you're interested in joining us and 24 others on this solidarity mission to Israel. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV.